Okay, I was looking for the link. I can't find it. When I get it off head, I'm going to tell it to you. So I was saying, I wanted to show you the documentation of how you can use the OctoKit library, but once I get the link off head, I'm going to send it to you. So once we create our app here, which we have initiated using all these credentials that I've told you where to get them. Once you come here and create a new app, it must be on your personal account. You must be able to get all these credentials. We can start using our bot in this way. Here I called it bot because I wanted to give it meaning. By the way, it's so hard to get variable names when you're programming. That's the hardest thing I've met in life. It's even harder than debugging. Getting a reasonable variable name is harder than debugging. But once this bot has been initiated, where we use it is somewhere here. I want to highlight that line. I want to highlight that line for you. Somewhere there. And you can see it here. I'm going to tell you how it's being used. For those of you, if you're using Node.js, which I'm not going to go into, you must at least know what these two lines mean. We use the Express library to help us to create API routes. You can read that. I'm not here to manage Express. All right. When you use Express, it helps you. It gives you methods and functions you can create to create routes. And one of those routes, I'm forgetting the URL. But when you go to the URL and say /logs, it will give you the logs of the badging bot. We log these so that we know whether the bot is still working or not. And we do this from the server. But you can also access these logs from anywhere you want. I want to concentrate on only one route, and I end this. And that is app.post. Once you've created your app here, once you've created your new bot, which is app bot, something like that, two of them, GitHub uses what we call webhooks to send information to your app. For example, when you create a new issue, when you sign in, when you create a pull request, when code is merged, they're what we call webhooks. And when that activity happens, as long as you created a GitHub app and linked it to the URL of where this app is posted, it will always send post requests to that app. When you're creating a new app, you'll see that it will ask you for the callback URL and also for the post URL. So you link it. If it's on localhost, your localhost machine is not accessible to the internet, so GitHub won't know that it is there. We use a tool called sme.io. I won't search it there, but if you're working on a website or if you're working on a backend app and you want your friend to test it out, you can always use that tool called sme.io. It helps your local machine be accessible on the web by anyone else from anywhere. So when you do that, you can be able to create a public URL that can be able to link that when there is a webhook that is triggered, GitHub sends it to that link that was created by sme.io, and sme.io will link it to your localhost project. So once that webhook comes in, it will be consumed by these lines here. And what these lines do is they get the payload, and that payload has the information of the webhook. If you've opened a pull request, the payload will have information about which organization it is, which repository it is, who has created the pull request, when was it created. Now, we use that kind of information to manipulate it in very many ways so that we automate our bot. For example, if CHAOSScon Africa applied for a badge, that badge is triggered to create, you can come. That badge is triggered to create an issue on our repository. Creating an issue triggers a webhook. And if you connected your app so well by giving it a URL, that webhook will be sent to your app, and that webhook will be received by this post route. And what happens is this route will receive all the payload concerning what that webhook has brought in. And we shall know that it's a pull request. And how we know that it's a pull request, when you go to this code inside here, it will show you how we know that it is actually a review for a conference. And then we shall get all the information and use the OctoKit library to manipulate the API to get whatever information we want, so that we can now start programming the bot here to give it all these functions that you can see. All these things can be easily understood by you if you either have an idea or if you're really willing to put in the effort to understand. Otherwise, I'm not going to say I'll be so much available to assist, but I try my level best to attend to people when I can, because when you are working with open source, it's volunteership, and you also have your personal work to do. So it's not like I am seated on the computer and I was hired to wait for DMs, but I try my best because it is also what shaped my career. So I need to give back to people. So for those that want to contribute, you can always text me, and if it's in the channel, you just tag me at KAXEDA, and I can do my best to reply anytime I can. I don't do it deliberately, but it's out of other obligations that I do that. Otherwise, I think let's stop here for now. In a matter of saving time, I'll be around depending on what the other programs are, and we can chat later about even very many other things. One thing I didn't tell you is I also work with Debian. I work on a programming tool that is in a continuous integration and continuous development. This tool helps to check whether Debian packages are fit to go to the release stage. So if you use Ubuntu actually Ubuntu was built on Debian. Yeah? So we can also chat about that if you are interested in it. Otherwise, thank you so much for putting me on pressure, because I'm not a good timekeeper. I've been so much on pressure that I even feel my presentation was a little boring, but it was necessary. Otherwise, we can chat later. Thank you, guys. Let me also see how I enjoy my stay in Nigeria.
So please hold on. Please let's give Enoch a very good round of applause. Something I've noticed is that if someone loves what they do, you can always tell from how they talk about it. And we see how passionate Enoch is about this badging bot. And I can tell you, he really is. So please clap for Enoch again. We really appreciate all you do. So we'll be taking some questions now. So you'd answer like 2 questions. So who has questions for Enoch? I've been seeing you raising your hand, so.
Thank you. I've been looking for Enoch all around like everybody else. So expect me at the back. Okay, so I have 2 questions. As a developer, I want to come into CHAOSS to contribute to the badging bot. I think I would like to know where I can come in. What I mean is, what are the issues on ground? You made a statement that was important to me. You said you need someone to help you manage the server. So what are the issues that you would like developers to contribute to? That's number 1. Number 2, this training you just gave us now, is it possible that we have a recording of it? Like, what I mean, no, I'm not talking about your training now. I'm talking about you entering into our YouTube on CHAOSS. We have something like that somebody just coming in can just go there, watch and rewatch until they have an idea of what the badging bot is all about, and then can go on without having to text you or DM you on Slack.
Very valid question and very good suggestion. in the end. The issues that are around in the badging bot, right now we are integrating the badging bot into the badging website. So we may need dedicated back-end developers who can help us to actually do that. We're thinking of using either Python or Ruby on Rails or Node.js, but depending on the expertise we can get, we can have someone or a group of people that can help us do that. The badging bot, the badging website is up and running, but it's only the front end. It doesn't have the back end. We want to change the process of the application. So that's one of the areas. The other area is we have some other functionalities that we think could smoothen the process of applying for the badge. And those functionalities, we think they're going to come in while we are integrating the badging bot into the badging website. And once we have maybe a team of people, we can continue the discussion to give them an idea of what we think we want to add in into that process. And about the servers is, I manage, I think, around 4 servers of CHAOSS. I've forgotten their names though. I only find them in my Google account, but the badging bot is one of them. And sometimes you find that you have to make some changes when people make pull requests and you merge them. Sometimes you find one pull request is distorting the deployment, and you have to go into the server to change some environmental variables, to also monitor the logs to know where maybe the error is coming from, things like those. So that's also on part of the server. Our server runs on Linux, Ubuntu. So for those who are interested in that. Then the third one, the last one, we wanted to create a shell script that helps beginners to contribute to the badging bot. That shell script was actually partly started by someone here, whom I'm not, where is Faith? Yeah, Faith there. She has been working on some issues connected to writing that shell script that will help a new beginner. You just get that line, put it in your terminal. It gives you all the things you may need. And once it finishes running, your work is just to click npm run start, and things will start on their own. She is working on that process. But if we can have more people who can work on that script, it will be useful to help the developers also there. So I think those are areas. And then for the YouTube, where is Mary Blessing? Oh, okay. No. She was asking for a more broad recording of this particular training by me, so that we can upload it somewhere and people can access it to start. So we can do that. I don't know when, but I'm going to commit to doing that, because it's just a matter of putting OBS Studio and click record.
Thank you so much, Enoch. Yes, I think that would be all, because we are running out of time. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So the next talk we'll be listening to is from Sean. So this talk is titled Identifying Open Source Ecosystem Using Network Analysis, Artificial Intelligence, and Dependency Patterns. And this talk is going to be given by Sean. So let's see if we got it right this time.
And welcome to this discussion of Augur, one of the great tools that's part of the CHAOSS project as a whole. In this talk, I'm going to talk about human networks, the groups of people who work together on projects and also work across projects. Those representations, those relationships between people are manifest both in communication on discussion forums, issue trackers, prevalent in the way that we collaborate with each other around artifacts and software. So there are two kinds of networks in open source software. When it comes to people, there's direct relationships and conversations between people, and then relationships that are part of the network that are really mediated by artifacts in the open source software. Then we're going to talk exclusively about dependency network more for an individual project. So understanding at the project level, what are my dependencies? And then also if you want to think across an entire portfolio of software projects and understand the network of dependencies on libraries and other software that exist in that entire portfolio, you can do the same thing with Augur. Finally, we're going to talk about using forms of
Can someone tell people to come inside? This is the final thank you speech that I've been saving for 4 months. They are showing what they are not supposed to show. Sorry. Okay, so while I wait for people to come in, so this is going to be really fast. First, thank you so much to everyone. Like, I'm beyond grateful, right? Thank you. We've been planning this for 4 months, since January, and we decided that since, we made it collocated at Oscar Fest, because since a lot of people were coming, it would be great to have people attend, CHAOSScon, and we've been planning for 4 months. We've had hurdles, a lot of hurdles, and we're able to pull this off. So I said, I know earlier when I gave the welcome speech, I was going to give a kind of like a little story about how Chaos Africa started and, where we are today and kind of what we'll do in the future. I don't have a slide because I've been running up and down. So I'm just going to take the story like that, and there's a very big announcement I have at the end that's, it's really exciting for me, and I'm sure it's going to be exciting for everybody. So yeah, where did we start from? Community is really important. For me, I feel it's the heart of open source, right? The community, the people that you meet, the connections that you make, the little messages, the little actions that you do. That's what keeps me going with open source, how I'm able to speak to someone and the next time I speak to them, something changes, and how they also go on to give that ripple effect as well. So how Chaos Africa started was, Anita gave a talk earlier, and Anita and I were, when we joined the Chaos project, there was just one African contributing, and he was doing his outreachy, internship, Tola. And then when we joined, we were lost, like real lost, right? And because we had so much passion to understand this thing, even when it didn't seem like it would work, we kept going, we kept asking questions. We worked a lot together when, trying to talk about the Chaos project in our talks, in smaller meetups, and then with talking about Chaos project in different talks, more Nigerians, more Africans started coming into the project. And this was in 2020 during the pandemic. And in 2022, the first outreachy cohort, we had a lot of outreachy applicants that were Nigerians, and majorly Nigerians and Africans, a lot. And it was when the co-founder, Matt, realized this, it was like, what's happening? Right? We had this outreach channel, and then people would troop in and keep asking questions. How do I start my outreach? How do I start my outreach contribution? Because outreach has like a lot of phases. And we had so many people. And going back to why there were so many people, it was the little actions we started with back then in 2020. That's what kept growing. The seeds we were throwing the seeds were spreading, they were growing, right? And then the board in Chaos realized that, there are a lot of people that are being represented here. And at that time, we had like a team called the DI Audit Team, which I've been working with Justin on it, sponsored by the Ford Foundation. And we made that the decision was made that Chaos Africa should start, and it started as of yesterday. I wanted to get the cake because I'm a big fan of cakes, but I couldn't do that. But yeah, so that decision was made, and at that time I didn't have a job, so I was like, would you love to lead this community? And before open source, before tech, I do not see myself as a leader. I'm more of someone that wants to serve. But when this came, I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? But I realized that I have that passion, I have that zeal, I have that motivation to keep going. So I took it upon myself to say, okay, regardless of my fears, regardless of how I feel that I am scattered, I can't bring people together, I'm still going to take this, I'm still going to bring people together and make this work, right? And then we started, and when we started, the goal for us was to help a lot of the Africans. Like I said, when I and Anita joined, we were pretty lost, and a lot of people then shared that same thing where they were also lost. So the goal for us then was to help people contribute, help people find their space, help people find something to do in the project. And we started that. A lot of people started coming into the meetings. The first meeting we had, although it was very chaotic, so the Zoom was shared on Twitter, and then we had a lot of like people spam it, sharing their screen, showing a lot of like insensitive things. It was so chaotic. But the thing is, we had, and then did anybody get the chaotic sticker? That's our name, our tag name, Chaotix, right? So like, regardless of how chaotic that first event was, there was still a lot of people that got something, and then we kept moving, and then people have given their time to Chaos Africa. People have contributed a lot. Even this event, like, you have not come, because I was also organizing on the Oscar side. Like, a lot of people made this happen. They brought in a lot of zeal. And then when we started with different working groups, trying to help people kind of connect together. And we started with about 5 of them: design, development, technical writing, research. So this is going to the projects that we have had in the past 1 year. So the first project we had was a research project where we're trying to understand how the challenges that Africans face when they contribute to open source. It's still ongoing. And we also did a lot of work with events badging. And Enoch is a superman. Like, he handles, like he said, he handles 4 servers on Chaos. So we did a lot of work with events badging. And now with zeal comes reward, right? Because the Chaos group could see that, like, there was a lot of energy. I would say that boldly. Like, there was a lot of energy with every meeting we had, with every person that came in. They wanted to do something. They wanted to give in their all. So we started having rewards. And when I say rewards, I mean good ones, really good ones. I know somebody, I don't know if that person is still here, asked the question when Justin gave a keynote about why should I contribute for free? I wanted to speak then, but open source is not just about free contributions. You get paid to do open source work. And I can say that there are some people that are being paid in Chaos Africa to do work, right? And this is something that I even chase after. And yeah, so we started getting rewards. Like I said, the first thing we got was to handle a section of the DI badging project from GitHub. So GitHub is partnering with Chaos to launch a section of that, and they gave us this contract to build that part, the bots and the website, the design. They gave us that. That was the first reward. And then even today, we've had GitHub Copilot. When I talked about, we had this grant from GitHub as well. It's been all GitHub, but more are coming. I know that. But yeah, so we had also this grant from GitHub to develop stories, and it has been so amazing. Like, I can't even begin to list out every one of them. And it's not just about the money. It's the fact that I find so much joy when I see that people are rewarded for the work that they do, the effort that they put in. So these rewards are massive. And then the last really exciting thing is we recently, so GitHub has a section called All In. And All In is GitHub's open sourcing, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And for All In is divided into, I'm going to bombard you with a lot of information right now before I get to the main thing. But you can read that later though. But yeah, so All In is a section of GitHub that works on open sourcing DEI. And they have All In for maintainers and All In for students. So I know when I heard about All In for students, when the program started, I had spoken to some members, like some people at the GitHub team, and I was like, you know, this is, I know the program just started, but this is something that I know a lot of Africans will benefit from. And what is All In for students? So All In for students, it's a program. It's that section of All In that helps students, instead in the US, so it helps students, you know, learn open source. It's like education is the key factor. Learn about open source, like university students, learn about open source, help them get internships, mentorship, access to a course, like an actual course where you learn about open source, and, you know, learn the techniques, learn about GitHub, learn about like leveling up your career. So then when I saw this whole package, I was like, this is something that should definitely be here. And we need the resources to pull it off, right? It's not just about bringing in, we need resources, not just about bringing in people to contribute. I also want people to get rewards for their work. So I'm kind of excited to announce that Chaos Africa is going to be handling All In Africa. So All In is coming to Africa, and it's going to start as a 1-year contract, but I know it will extend beyond this, and the plan is still building up. We are still cooking. So we're going to be handling this, and it's, like I said, it's the education piece. Right, it's teaching people how to do open source. It's teaching people how to level up their career with open source. And the plan, like I said, the plan is still cooking, and we'll be sharing more details soon. It's something that we want to be able to plan it well, and I don't want to share too much because I think I talk too much, so let me not share what I must not share. But yeah, so that's the big announcement, and it's really big, not sharing so many details, but I feel this is going to change so many lives as well, right? And I can't wait to see it happen. And this is a thank you to the organizing committee of CHAOSScon. CHAOSScon Africa. This is our first event, and we're able to pull it off this big, right? I'm so excited, like super. I think this is one of the best days in my life, right? Seeing that people's lives were changed, yes. So thank you, the organizing committee. They did a lot of work behind the scenes to pull this all together. Thank you to our vendors. The food was lovely. Thank you to our photographers. They're taking beautiful pictures that we'll see later. Thank you to our media team for helping us set up everything even before the day. And, you know, even regardless of the issues we had, they were able to contain it. Thank you to everyone that traveled far to come for this. I'm super grateful, regardless of where you came from, even though you walked to this place. Thank you so much. Oscar Fest is good. There's literally Open Source Week, so this is a plug-in for Oscar Fest too. So please come to Oscar Fest as well. We are going to be taking pictures, like general pictures. That will be like the final thing. But the last thing I want to say is, I'll go back to that statement of the heart of open source is the people you meet along the way. Please network. Take that networking serious, because there are a lot of ways that your life could change from just meeting someone, right? So yeah, thank you everyone, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. And if you're going to be at Oscar Fest, there's a whole lot we have planned as well. So, ciao. So I think I'll coordinate the pictures. The speakers that were, the speakers that are still here, can you just come? Let's take each one. Okay. Oh yes, I forgot one announcement. It's too plenty, that's why. Okay, so for the hackathon, the GitHub Copilot session that happened, there's a follow-up hackathon that would happen as well. So if you participated, or maybe even though you weren't able to participate but you're interested, we'll be announcing that on the socials, like the form to fill the hackathon, where you get to build like a website with using Copilot, right? So we'll announce that later on our socials for people to fill in and participate in that hackathon. So yeah, thank you very much. I hope there's no more announcements. So I'll just coordinate the pictures. So the speakers first.